Welcome, everyone. On today's show, we'll recap the Miami Dolphins' 30-0 win over the New York Jets. It's Victory Monday here on Phinside The NFL. Also, I'll explain why Tua haters are panicking right now, and that rattling you're hearing is their kneecaps chattering together as Tua Tagovailoa and the December narratives are starting to get killed. Also, do the Miami Dolphins field the best defense in the NFL right now? We got a lot to talk about. We're going to get into it. Smash that like button. Subscribe if you're new. Again, it's Victory Monday. Fins up. Let's get into it.
Loses the football. Touchdown! Got it!
You have got to be kidding me.
Jalen Waddle has a Dolphin touchdown. And he will score!
Field down the near side, man open. Touchdown!
The run from Tua Tagovailoa.
Touchdown!
He's going deep. It's going over the touchdown again.
Beautiful day to be a Dolphin fan.
Let's go!
What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason, and we're early today. It's a Victory Monday midday matinee, and I thank you all for tuning in today. Shout out to the homie Knight. Any more on AJ47? I'm guessing he's talking about Austin Jackson. Are you talking about Austin Jackson? I think you got his numbers backwards. We them boys about to be served. Oh, we're going to be checking in on Christmas saying, y'all still those boys after we get this W. Listen, I didn't have a chance to post the Patreon video. I'm going to post it tonight, probably after Monday Night Football. I'll talk about Austin Jackson. I'll talk about more of that stuff tonight on the Patreon video, patreon.com/Phinside The NFL. And, I may do a written version for channel members here on that you'll be able to find under the community tab. You call him AJ47 because you've been laying dudes out, eh? Attaboy. David Dupree said, shout out to Ethan Bonner's debut. You damn right. We're going to talk about that. Shout out to AVG for playing with a broken nose. Are you serious? Word came out today that AVG broke his nose during the game yesterday, and he kept playing through it like an absolute champ. So I got to give him his credit. I got to give him his due. Shout out to AVG. But, let's do some takeaways from yesterday's game. I'll go over my takeaways that I posted on Twitter. I really thought yesterday McDaniel made a lot of the necessary adjustments to mask the offensive line deficiencies, as well as he made the adjustments in the passing game to make up for Tyreek being inactive. Obviously, it was also refreshing for all of us to see him commit to the run in the red zone. I think everyone expected in the passing game to be impacted the most by Tyreek, but I felt the impact was felt the most in the run game. The space he creates for the run game just wasn't there yesterday. I thought Tua was great. He took what the defense gave him. Go back to the Patriots game when we first saw that three-high shell look this season. What did they do? Took underneath, ran the football, took what the defense gave them, slowly, methodically slice and dice them. It's what we saw yesterday. And I don't want to hear nothing. I don't want to hear nothing about the Jets are trash. Sure, their offense is trash. That's fantastic. But that was the number 2 defense against the pass heading into the game. All right? I ain't trying to hear nothing. They were allowing about 167.2 yards per game. Tua put up over 220. All right? And he went over top of them. It's not like he dinked and dunked the full 20. All right? I ain't trying to hear nothing about that. All right? And total defense, they were 5th in the NFL. I mean, they only allowed 299 yards per game. And what's crazy is and we'll get a little deeper into this with the topic of the show. Their rushing defense was allowing 131.8 yards per game. We put up just over 75 yards against them. I think we put up 77 yards. Just saying, not like the run game was going off. So, and I will say this is 3 straight games for Tua with no interceptions. He's taking care of the pigskin. Waddle yesterday showed why he's still a 1B. He's not a number 2. He's a 1B to Tyreek's 1A. Stepped up as the focal point of the passing attack other than that one drop, right? You got to congratulate Raheem, the Dream, breaking the franchise single-season rushing touchdown and total touchdowns from scrimmage records. Shout out to Raheem. I thought Achane, me and Hooked Up Joe talked about it yesterday on the postgame. I thought Achane's effort was better than what showed up on the stat line. He had some runs called back. I thought Achane played good yesterday. The offensive line, for what it was serviceable. But backups or not, they need to clean up those penalties. We need Robert Hunt and Austin Jackson. Speaking to Unite, we need Robert Hunt and Austin Jackson healthy for this drive. They're just for this stretch run. There's just no doubt about it. I'm sorry, there's just no doubt about it. Eichenberg clearly struggling more. His anchor's even worse with his calf injury. He's slower to get out into space, even worse with his calf injury. But it is what it is right now. Hey, did you see they used Zach Harrison at the end of the game there a little bit when they were resting starters? Claypool's usage intrigued me. This is now multiple times where he's made a catch and made a play, albeit yesterday's was called back, right? Because of a penalty. But I'm ready to see him integrated more into this offense. I really am. I think Tua would utilize him. I really do. I really, really do. Man, Berrios. I thought he was decent in the return game. I really did. And I thought, he only made one play yesterday, but how nice of a play was that, huh? How nice of a play was that, huh? Come on. Fangio in this defense, master class. I don't want to ever hear anything about Fangio ever again. I remember people in my chat. I remember people on X. I remember people on YouTube questioning Fangio, questioning his defense, saying he should be fired, saying this defense sucks. Well, look at now. We're going to get into it, but we might have the best defense in the NFL. And I'll go even further. This defense under Fangio is better and is going to be much better than it ever was under Flores. Why? I'll tell you exactly why. Guys, Fangio hasn't even started building this defense in his image yet. He took on all the personnel. He has not started bringing in his guys, right? Drafting guys he thinks fits that he can use. It hasn't started yet. Think of that one for a sec. He'll be forced to bring in guys he likes, he sees as fits based upon contract situations and free agency and such. I'm telling you, man, wait until he starts building it in his image a little bit more. It's going to get even better. And I will go on record. This defense is better against the run than it ever was against Flores and Boyer. The potential of this defense is better than it ever was. The biggest question we had about Fangio early on, and he's answered us, was would he take his philosophy and marry it with what the personnel of our defense does so well, right? Blitzing, the cover zero stuff. I mean, disguised blitzing, manufactured pressure. Basically, you can put an umbrella under that all. And what has he done? What has he done? Other than the hiccup against the Titans, what has he done? But unbelievable. Unbelievable. Now, Zach Seiler continues to make big plays. Just continues to make big plays. Wilkins, been an absolute powerhouse, silencing all the pass rush critics consistently. I thought AVG, again, broke his nose yesterday. Had the good pass breakup on Conklin. I thought he was impacting the pocket in the pass rush yesterday. I thought AVG was good. David Long, not enough people are talking about how big of a cog to our defensive wheel David Long is. And I know I do every week, especially on my takeaways on X or Twitter. Every week I mention David Long. I can't stress enough how good this player is. I can't stress enough how good he is in this defense. First 4 or 5 weeks, he would have a good game, struggle. It was very inconsistent. He's found his footing, and he has become an absolute cog in the wheel of this defense. Big David Long fan over here. Big David Long fan over here. We're going to get into it later, but Jalen Ramsey, or as I call him, Jalen Ramsey, absolutely erased Garrett Wilson. And we saw the masterclass him and X put on by erasing Terry McLaurin a couple weeks ago. I mean, can you even say good enough? He's the best corner in the NFL right now. It's not even, he's an absolute stud. Is this even a debate? Who's going to debate me with that one? Absolute stud. I mean, shout out to Jalen Ramsey, man. That guy is so freaking special. Again, another one of my favorite players on this team. He's unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. And Elijah Campbell. Let's give some young men some credit here. Elijah Campbell showed off his range on that pass breakup. I thought he was very strong in Deshaun Elliott. Has Deshaun Elliott priced himself out of town because of how good he's been? Well, you've got your replacement if he has, don't you? Sticking with the safeties, listen, only had to play center field like his name is Ken Griffey yesterday, but he hit home runs when given opportunities. Brandon Jones, 2 interceptions, made the plays that presented themselves. Nice to see him bounce back after struggling the last couple games, which was, he struggled for a few games after having one of his best games in his best game of the year. So it's nice to see him, get rewarded a little bit there. I thought Kohu, he gave up a play early on. I believe it was in zone, and then he settled right in. He was good. Eli Apple made some plays, and Ethan Bonner, eh? How about Ethan Bonner? I loved watching the sideline. Everyone was so happy to see him make a play. You could tell the team really rallied around him, wanted to see Ethan Bonner make a play, and you could tell they really liked the kid. So that was good to see. I think my favorite part might have been when they panned in on Aaron Rodgers' face and the look on his face of realization that the Dolphins just put the nail in the coffin of any hopes he had in coming back and willing this team into the playoff race. It's over. It's done. They're eliminated. The ego took a shot yesterday, Rodgers. Oh, man, I can't show everyone how fast I can come back, unnecessarily fast I can come back from an injury. Love it. Love it. Eat it. And I will say, all last week, I said to y'all, I expect them to handle their business this week. It's what they're going to do against Dallas. And after seeing what Dallas did and Buffalo, what happened in that game yesterday, all of the Cowboys' losses have been on the road. You are dealing with one of the worst road teams in the NFL coming into Hard Rock, which is one of the hardest places to win at in the NFL over the last couple of years under Tua Tagovailoa. Right? I mean, that's just a fact. Right? Because now the Dolphins are 19-5 all-time at Hard Rock in games started by Tua. His .792 winning percentage in home games in his career is the second best among active NFL quarterbacks behind only Aaron Rodgers. It's not easy to beat Tua Tagovailoa at home, baby. It ain't. And I'm just saying, ask me if I'm worried that the worst road team. They were so flat yesterday. Holy. Oh, they're going to be pissed off the week. Oh, they're going to be pissed off this week. Do you think this is the only week the Dolphins were going to be pissed off? Do you think the Dolphins were like, let's take it out on the Jets and then get back in? No. The Dolphins themselves knew the expectations were they would handle the Jets. It's about this 3-game stretch. Don't think we're all of us on YouTube, whether you're on the chat on a platform, whether you're in a space on X or tweeting on X, whatever you're doing. Don't think you're the only one realizing how big that 3-game stretch is, how many answers we might get from it, etc., etc. These players know exactly what the deal is. Baby, I'm telling you, Santa coming early on Christmas Eve for us, Doll fans. I get it. Some of us are going to miss family time. I'm just saying, it might be worth it. And listen, I talked to the Dolphin fan last night. I said, man, I just want them, at worst, I think they go 2-1. And even Dolphin fan, man, I think they run the schedule out. He thinks they go 3-0. And I'm there too. I think we go 3-0 or 2-1. 2-1 at worst. And the one loss would be like in Baltimore, I think. But look, again, I don't even believe that, because I've said since the offseason when I made my predictions that we went 14-3, this team believes they can do whatever they want in Baltimore after what they did last year. Who am I to say they're wrong? Huh? Who am I to say they're wrong? I don't think they're wrong. Let's run this table, baby. Let's get all three. All right, my jabroni of the week. I'm sorry. It has to be. If you listened yesterday to that god-awful broadcast, you would be coming away saying Tony Romo too. I mean, man, I'm surprised he could get Josh Allen out of his mouth for long enough to talk about the game. Notice how silent he went when we made that 60-yard touchdown to Waddle, when Tua threw that bomb, that perfect dime. Notice how silent he went. Bro, all across the Western Front, it was silent there. And then we got to watch him. Oh, well, Murderers Row. They got Dallas and Baltimore and Bills. Okay, Murderers Row. Why? Because you played for Dallas? Why? Because if the Bills offered you a backup job right now, you would do whatever it takes as long as you were behind Josh Allen, whether that be physically or metaphorically, just because you have such a man crush on the guy. I mean, bro, this guy's wife is about to file for divorce, citing infidelity with Josh Allen. It's ridiculous. Guys, do y'all remember we were up 27-0? What was it? Was it 27-0? I think it was. We were up 27-0, I believe. Yeah, we were up 27-0. Oh, Jim, if they get and they were driving or whatever, and they got on the other side of the field. Oh, Jim, if they get a touchdown here, they're right back in it with the Jets. The Jets would have been down like 27-0. 27-7. 27-8 if they would have converted going into the fourth quarter. I mean, buddy, Trevor Siemian is out there. All right. Garrett Wilson is basically running cardio for 95% of the game. Dalvin Cook is wishing he was on the other team. Breece Hall contained. I mean, what is he talking about almost back in this? The delusion. And it's all because he wants us to lose. All because he wants the Bills to squeak in. You can't fool me, Tony. And what's crazy is what a downfall. I remember when he joined the broadcast booth, we all loved him. But now the bias has started to take over for this guy. And now it's so evident, it's disgusting to watch. This guy is just an absolute jabroni now. Get him off my television. I used to say when Eichenberg played the way he did, get him off my TV. I'm saying the same thing for Tony Romo. As much as we love Kevin Harlan, get Tony Romo's ass off. He's the opposite of Kevin Harlan. This guy is an absolute dunce. I'm sorry. I am sorry. I just can't. Come on, man. I have never heard such a love affair and a love fest for another man from an announcer of any sport. It's unbelievable. I mean, the bias is so evident. Like, God help us if if he's calling, either the Bills game in the final week or if we play the Bills in the playoffs and he gets the game. God help us all. Our ears are going to be bleeding. There's going to be reports of mass chopping off of ears in the Miami, Dade County area. It's going to be ridiculous. God help us all. Say 3 Hail Marys that Tony Romo doesn't call another Dolphins game, whether it's the regular season or the playoffs. Jesus Louises. That guy's an absolute jabroni. I'm sorry. He's just an absolute jabroni. Absolute jabroni. All there is to it. And that's why he's jabroni of the week. Hands down. Good for him. Good for him. Man, I got to start making a physical award and sending it off to these guys. Huh? All right, let's get into this one. One of the main topics of this show. Tua haters are panicking, baby. First of all, I got to start off with this. I got to just make a little point here. You remember the narrative last year about Tua underthrows his receivers? How many underthrows have we seen this year to Tyreek? How many? How many underthrows have we seen to Jalen Waddle deep ball? How many? First of all, you got to give Nick Hicks, my boy, my good friend, you got to give him his flowers and Tua as well for the work they put in. But number two, again, we come back to that lack of patience from the fan base. Tua and Tyreek have the best chemistry of any quarterback and wide receiver in the NFL. They have the best chemistry of any quarterback and wide receiver in that room on our team. All it took was a year. It took one season, right? Reps. Everything's with reps. You get better at everything with reps. In life and in football, you get better at everything with reps. And where's that narrative? That narrative's dead. I just got to throw that out there right now, first of all. Second narrative, I thought Tua couldn't win in December. 2-1 in December right now. You want me to do you one better? You want me to do you one better? Put yes in the comments if you want reason to do y'all one better right now. Put it in the comments, baby, because I'll do y'all one better right now. All right? I'll do you one better right now. Tua Tagovailoa hasn't thrown an interception in December. Let that sit there for you for a second, huh? Tua Tagovailoa has not thrown an interception in December. Just saying. I'm just saying. You want to hear something even crazier? Look at what he's doing right now, right? He's put up, 744 yards in December so far, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. None. Not one single one. And just to top it all off, and remember, he's not even, how many of these games is he finishing off? Okay, let's put that out there too. All right. I'm just saying. Also, with him right now in December, Tua Tagovailoa has a 77 completion percentage. You round up, right? Because it's about, you don't want to round up, fine. It's about 76.5. If you round up, it's 77. But we'll stick with 76.5. A 76.5 completion percentage this month. Over 700 yards. 3 passing touchdowns, no interceptions. Sure. Did we get it done in the finale of the Titans game? No. 110%. Was he mediocre in the Titans game? Yes. And for all of you looking for the definition of mediocre, that means not very good. He was mediocre. 110%. You will not hear any different from me. But even mediocrity, just saying. Letting our defense do the thing. He's not hurting our defense. He's not putting our defense in bad positions. Anyways, let's keep it going. All right, because we got to go into this. All right, look at how efficient he was with Tyreek out. He hit the big play over the top, took everything underneath. He didn't even have the run game to lean on. The Dolphins had 21 carries for 43 yards after 3 quarters of play yesterday, but they were up 27-0. We were averaging 2 yards per carry. Mostert had 14 carries for 24 yards. He was averaging 1.7 yards per carry and 2 touchdowns. HN, 7 carries for 19 yards, 2.6 yards per carry after 3 quarters. The Jets defense was number 28 against the run coming into they were allowing 131.8 yards per game. Miami finished with 77 yards on 28 carries. They averaged 2.8 yards per carry. He didn't have the run game to lean on. That's why that short passing game had to be an extension of the run game yesterday. The Jets were number 5 in total defense yesterday coming in, allowing 299 yards per game. They were number 2 against the pass in the NFL, allowing 167.2 yards per game. Tua killed them underneath, executed the game plan, had a big-time throw for a touchdown to Waddle that broke their back. He took what the defense gave him, made them pay, and their plan to get the ball out of his hands quick was also effective in protecting the offensive line from itself, besides the penalties you took. The quarterback can't protect you from taking your penalties. They drew up defenders with that short game, and then they hit him over the top. And Tua executed on a high level. Even his misses weren't bad. One was a non-defensive pass, was a non-call on a DPI. Jeff Wilson drew the flag. I don't care what anyone says. Waddle was a drop on a first down. He only had 3 incompletions. Look at him on third down. Look at him on third down. He gained 89 yards on a potential 110 yards. He had a 90% completion percentage on third down. A .298 EPA per play on third down. A 50% success rate. A 22 completion percentage over expectation. I'm just saying. Tua, right now, he's playing. And it goes back to last year. I told everyone tried to pin the Bills loss on him. Tua was outstanding in that Bills loss in December last year. If Trent Sherfield and Tyreek Hill didn't drop the football on that same drive, they both dropped touchdowns. Either one of those touchdowns would have won the game. If Josh Boyer gets us off the field on 3rd and 17 before the half is out, instead of allowing the Bills to convert that and then drive down the field and score, hell, we win if they get that stop. Tua was lights out. Aaron Rodgers wasn't in the same stratosphere until the concussions happened in that game. And when you can go and pinpoint when the concussions hit, that's when Tua's game started slipping. But before the hits and the concussion, Tua was lighting Green Bay up. I'm telling you right now, the Tua haters are panicking because he's killed every narrative about them. I mean, the one thing Romo did gush about Tua and gave Tua his flowers. He gushed about that after the play. He was silent while the play happened. Then after the play, he gushed about Tua's arm strength. You know, he basically criticized the people who say you don't have a strong arm. But Tua Tagovailoa right now, I mean, he's playing good ball. The guy has like an almost 77 completion percentage in December. Has passed for over 700 yards in December so far, and we still got another game to play. And he hasn't turned the ball over in December. He hasn't thrown an interception, in December. Just saying, and we're 2-1. And we should be 3-0. Realistically, we should be 3-0. And we can get into why we should have been 3-0. Sure, Tua had a chance. If Tua would have executed, there was multiple things. If Tua would have made the pass on that final play to Berrios, instead of getting happy feet, we'd still be playing. If Austin Jackson wouldn't have whiffed on the sack, Tua was eyeing that dig to Berrios, we would have been on the other side of the field. We would have been at like the 47-yard line. And then if you add in the Smythe catch after, we would have been in field goal range. So we had chances on that final drive, but protection let us down. And then Tua got happy feet because of the protection on the final play. So 2 big plays. One was protection. One was on Tua on the final drive. But really, if the run game would have moved the sticks, and we would have moved the sticks after we were up by 14 and got those touchdowns and not punting and ran the clock out, we would have won anyways. But anyways, we can get into, there's a lot of reasons why, right? If, when the pass game wasn't working the way it was, if McDaniel, we see him this week run 3 straight times when it looked like the first 2 runs didn't happen on that first Moser touchdown. Looked like the run game wasn't going to work and punch it in. Sticks with it. 3rd time it goes in. If he would have done that instead of throwing the football 3 times in a row once we got to the 6-yard line after that big Tyreek catch last week, and he would have found that balance in the red zone with the run game, then we wouldn't have left points on the field early on in the game. Plus, we had the block field goal. I mean, you look at McDaniel. McDaniel alone cost us 8 points by not running the ball early on in the red zone, potentially, right? Then you got another 3 points from the Sanders. That's 11 points right there. And this is a theme. We keep leaving points, whether it's play calling or lack of execution, whether that's Tua, whether that's Tyreek, because it's been multiple people, whether it's offensive linemen taking penalties, whether it's Robbie Chosen. I mean, it's been multiple people, lacks of execution from penalties to just not making plays, right? So we've left a lot of points on the field this year. A lot of points I always go back to that KC one. Look at the KC one alone, right? Get down to the 26 in the first half with Waddle, call it back because of a penalty. We don't even get a field goal, right? Tyreek Hill drops a ball at the 30-yard line, right? A perfect pass from Tua. We don't get points on that drive, right? Then at the 31, Tyreek fumbles, so we lose, don't get any points, and then we give them 7, right? So, I mean, you do the math. We left at least 3 field goals or 3 touchdowns on the board in that first half against KC alone, and plus we gave them a touchdown. So that's like a 16 to 28 point swing. That's why when people say, oh, we're in trouble against the Cowboys, oh man, I was right about the Chiefs. I told y'all bro, we beat ourselves against the Chiefs. The Chiefs didn't come in and whoop our ass. We whipped our own ass. I just named 16 to 28 point swing in the first half alone. We should have blown their asses out if you want me to be real with you. KC should have got a good old Deutschland ass whooping. All right, the real international language of ass whooping. But we beat ourselves, man. Same thing with Philly, beat ourselves. Well, injuries and the refs, but Tyreek doesn't drop and catches that walk-in touchdown. That's a different game. The only game where it was out of hand and it was and we got it handed to us and we didn't kill our own damn self. The other team was just better that day, was the Bills game. And that's because we were so high off that 50-point win. I mean, you even heard Tua saying people in that room needed to be humbled. So, I'm just saying, over 400 of you in the room, smash that like button. Subscribe if you're new. Tua Tagovailoa, he is playing good football right now. And, man, let's keep it going. Let's keep it going into this game. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't think we lose this week, baby. I just don't. I feel it. I feel it. I feel it. Oh, my God, I feel it. So, let's go ahead. Let's start getting into some things here, all right? Now, let's get into we'll get into the defensive topic later on, but let's get into some stuff from yesterday. Let's get into the snap counts from yesterday. And this is what it looks like when we break them all down. I mean, some quick takeaways here. Cedric Wilson, clearly with those snaps, stepping in as wide receiver 2. He saw 77% of the snaps. Look at this, man. He had more snaps than Jalen Waddle. Look at this guy. And that's obviously because Jalen Waddle missed some time because he's hurt and stuff. Apple. Look at Apple's. We'll get into that. Harrison. You saw Zach Harrison. He's out there. He got some snaps. 3 snaps. I mean, still it. Tight end. Look at the disparity. I mean, look at Smythe, almost double the snaps of Julian Hill. Berrios filled in for the wide receiver 3 role yesterday. Mostert outsnapping Achane by about 9. Ingold, I'd like to see his usage go up, man. I really would. You paid this man. He offers you something after the catch. Listen, we don't have that wide receiver. I mean, that tight end threat that can threaten the seams, that can make plays, that can threaten blocking, and he can threaten them with chipping and leaking out. Run Ingold with that. Craycraft didn't see very many, only saw 8 snaps. Jeff Wilson Jr. 8. Claypool, he had 5 snaps on offense and then 13 on special teams. So now when you flip to the defensive side here, you see obviously corner 2 is going to stick out to you here. Corner 3, I should say, really. But Kohu, you saw 81% of the snaps. Ramsey saw 81%. And then Apple saw about 76%. So there you go. Apple in with X out. David Long. Look at the snap increase, right? Usually Baker was the one taking on 90+% of the snaps. And David Long's taking it on. And look at Van Ginkel. Almost 90% of the snaps for Van Ginkel yesterday. They were letting him loose. Were they ever? And then you see Tyndall just got special team snap. Ogba got hurt. Bonner ended up getting 11 snaps at the end of the game, as did Calvin Munson. Only really 14 snaps for Nick Needham. Cam Good getting 20 snaps. So Cam Good getting integrated a little into the defense. Good to see him finally get some work with this defense. Shout out to, Cam Good's been putting his head down. He's been working. He's been doing his thing. So, man, it's good to see that pay off and get rewarded a little bit. I mean, that shows us the Fangio, that's a UDFA getting snaps before Channing Tindall. Or getting more snaps before Channing Tindall, right? So, just saying, don't tell me that Fangio ain't giving opportunities. Clearly, you got to earn them, and he's got to like what he sees, right? Hopping into the PFF grades. So, offensively, who were your top graded guys? Jalen Waddle, number 1 at 92.8. Terran Armstead, number 2 at an 83.3. Chase Claypool at an 80.5. Yeah! Devin Achane at number 4 with a 78. Tua Tagovailoa at number 5 with a 76.5. Who were your worst graded guys yesterday? Lester Cotton at a 33.8, which I agree. Liam Eichenberg, 35.8. Eichenberg struggled. That calf injury clearly affecting him getting out into open space, affecting his anchor right now. And then you got Tyler Kroft, Robbie Chosen, and Jeff Wilson Jr. rounding out that bottom 5. Not that great. But hey, listen, get that ball out and game plan and quarterback execution can mask. It's not going to mask every play. There's going to be breakdowns, but it is what it is. Now, remember, always look at these passing charts. We look at the next gen one in a bit here, and there are always a little bit of some discrepancies here. But you got Tua. He was 1 for 1 to that left side for that touchdown for 60 yards on deep balls. On the intermediate level, they have him charted here as 3 for 4. Short level, they have him at 7 for 9. And then behind the line of scrimmage, they have him a perfect 10 for 10. All right. You look at Tua yesterday when he was kept clean. He was 17 of 19. His yards per attempt was about 9.3. Threw a touchdown. Completion percentage of 89.5%. Average depth of target was about 4.2 yards. And his time to throw was about 1.86 seconds when he was kept clean. So there you go. That's how quickly they were designing the ball to get out. That's over 19 attempts. Under 2 seconds. Right? Look at it right here. Right there. That's how much they were masking that offensive line yesterday. And that's execution, that's processing, and that's a good game plan from Mike McDaniel. 122.8 NFL passer rating. Now, under pressure, he was 4 for 5. Had a completion percentage of 80. Yards per attempt was 9.6. Average depth of target actually went up to 5. Time to throw was about 2.81 seconds. His NFL passer rating was 106.7. So, he was good whether he was under pressure or kept clean yesterday. Taking care of the football, getting it out, and executing. Love it. You love when Tua is so decisive with the football. He gets in that rhythm early on. That's why, I've always said go back last year or even when Flores is here. You like giving Tua some screens because he's such a rhythm passer. You want to get him going in rhythm. And once you get him in rhythm, you build that confidence and that in-game confidence, and that's when he starts just lights out delivering. I mean, look at the drop Waddle had. That coverage was so tight. Tua just, boom, right in there past the sticks. You know what I mean? Like, you got to love it. Now, pressures. The Dolphins, they allowed 7 pressures yesterday. 3 sacks. Austin Jackson, Eichenberg, and Lester Cotton were all charged with sacks. In terms of pressures, Eichenberg and Cotton gave up 3 each. Kendall Lamb gave up 2. Austin Jackson gave up 1, and Armstead gave up 1, as well as Robert Jones. And we'll go into the tape tomorrow and break it down in Pass Pro. That interior's got to get a little right. That interior's got to get a little bit more right. I'm really worried about this down the stretch. I really am. I'm not going to sugarcoat that for you guys. Defensively, Bradley Chubb with a 94. Duke Riley with a 90.9. Andrew Van Ginkel with an 86.7. Ethan Bonner with an 81.7. Calvin Munson with a 79.2. And then your bottom rated guys, Nick Needham had a 39. David Long, I don't agree with that at all. Look at that, a 90.2 run defense. Oh, my God. David Long, they gave him a 58. Eli Apple was a 58 point. I thought Eli Apple was better than that. He made some plays. Justin Bethel had a 60, and Barrios, they have him on defense for some reason here. So, anyways, I don't know if I agree with some of those. The eye test don't matches up. Now in coverage, this is what we were doing with our coverage matchups. Eli Apple targeted 7 times, allowed 4 receptions for 42 yards, 21 to Lazard, 21 to Xavier Gibson. Allowed 2 first downs. So, listen, I thought Eli Apple, I thought he had a pass breakup too, if I remember correctly. I don't know what they're talking about. Elijah Campbell, he had the pass breakup on Alan Lazard. He was targeted 5 times, allowed 3 receptions for 16 yards. His longest was 9. He allowed 1 first down. David Long, he was targeted 5 times, allowed 4 receptions for 28 yards and 2 first downs. Brandon Jones targeted 3 times, allowed 2 receptions for 6 yards. Duke Riley, he was targeted 3 times, allowed 1 reception for 6 yards. Nick Needham targeted 3 times, allowed 2 receptions for 17 yards and 2 first downs. Ethan Bonner targeted twice, allowed 0, and had a pass breakup on Alan Lazard. Andrew Van Ginkel targeted twice, allowed 1 reception for 13 yards and a first down. Kader Kohu targeted once, allowed that early on in a reception to Xavier Gibson. I thought he was trailing. I think he blew that one a little bit. But other than that, like I said, he settled in. Jalen Ramsey targeted once. Nothing. Jalen Ramsey is just an absolute stud. Oh, my Lord. My God, what a difference that man is. Huh? We're going to get into it in a sec here. But my God, what a difference that man is. Those are your PFF grades. Guys, over 410 of you in the room, smash that like button. Subscribe if you're new. Those are your PFF grades for this week. Let's head into the next-gen stats. So this is Trevor Siemian's passing chart. Not a ton. Look at it. Completion percentage over expected was minus 8.2. Absolute, Really, beyond 10 yards, what? He only tested it, I think, 9 times beyond 10 yards. Hey, when you got lockdown corners like we do, that's what you got to deal with. That's what you got to do. All right? Shout out. Yeah, I can't stress the defense in the secondary enough, man. Bradley Chubb, you got my game ball, obviously. I don't care whether he was the best player on the field for us yesterday. I don't care whether you're on offense or defense. Bradley Chubb was absolutely phenomenal. So I'm going to give him, he gets my game ball. But, man, that secondary was good. I cannot stress enough how good they were. Man, I can't stress how good enough they were. That defense is just real good right now, man. Real good. So, shut out. I got to give them their props, man. I got to give them their props. Now, you know what time it is. Let's head into Tua's passing chart. So, with Tua and his passing chart, I mean, you see it right there. Spreading the ball around, taking what the defense gives them. I mean, again, the number 2 passing defense in the NFL. It's not like they're going up against a bunch of jabronis. You know what I mean? They had to get it done. And Tua got it done yesterday. And, I mean, look at this. Best quarterback win percentage since November 1st, 2021, with a minimum of 30 starts. Jalen Hurts at 0.829%. Patrick Mahomes at 0.78%. And Tua Tagovailoa at 0.706. So Tua Tagovailoa's win percentage since November 2021, 70.6%. Second only to Patrick Mahomes at 78% and Hurts at 82.9%. I mean, what can you say right now? What can you say right now? Getting it done. Getting it done. I love it. I love it. I'm here for every minute of it. Shout out to Tua. Get it? Hey, man, you know, he completed 87.5% of his passes against a top 5 pass defense without Tyreek Hill. And Tua's completion percentage over expectation, as you see right there in front of you, plus 9.8%. It was 13.5% total. That was the 4th highest in week 15. Ain't never, ever, ever. And right now, Tua Tagovailoa has the most passing yards in the NFL, 3,921. Leading the NFL. Leading the NFL. We're about to hit 4,000. 4,500 yards is coming, baby. Here it comes. Here it comes. I am predicting 4,200, 32 touchdowns, and I'll take 12 picks. Maybe 11 picks. Maybe he throws one more. But, I mean, 4,500 plus yards, 30 plus touchdowns, and 10 to 12 picks, that's damn good. Especially when you've got a running back who's got 20 all-purpose touchdowns from the line of scrimmage and just broke the franchise record for rushing touchdowns, sniping touchdowns from you. Rightfully so, but still, I'm just saying, Tua could have easily surpassed 40. But, hey, is what it is. Don't ever let it be what it ain't. All right? Now, when we hop into the next-gen stats, Zach Wilson had the longest completed air distance for the Jets, 30.2 yards. Tua Tagovailoa, longest for the Dolphins, 48.6. Fastest ball carrier for the Jets, Israel Abanikanda, the former running back out of Pitt, 16.51 miles per hour. Jalen Waddle, he was at a 19.72, I believe it was, after this screen so conveniently reloads on me. Was I right? I was 19.72. Bradley Chubb had the fastest sack for the Dolphins at 3 seconds. Solomon Thomas had the fastest sack for the Jets at 3.8. Now, when you look at the passing chart here, right? Again, let's line it up with what PFF said. So they were right. Like PFF was, both only charted one pass beyond 20 yards. That was to the deep left. They have him here 3 for 4 on the intermediate level. Well, guess what? So did PFF. They had him 3 for 4 as well. On the short level, remember PFF, they had to a 7 for 9. Here he is 6 for 8. And then they have him 11 for 11 behind the line of scrimmage. Well, PFF, they had him 10 for 10 behind the line of scrimmage. Trevor Siemian I mean, it was all over the place for that guy. You know, it was not the Trevor Siemian's best day. Let's be honest with ourselves. I don't know who's throwing to on those touchdowns. Talk about miscommunications. Breece Hall absolutely shut down. 6 carries for 12 yards yesterday. Israel Anaconda, 4 carries for 8 yards. Shut down. Dalvin Cook, 1 carry for 4 yards. Absolutely shut down, ladies and gentlemen. They came into that game as an offense. They were averaging about 89.8 yards per game as an offense. The Dolphins, they were giving up about 95.5 yards per game. And, I mean, look at that masterclass right there. Look at that masterclass. Absolutely shut them down. Shut them down. I'm here for it. Remember, the Jets as a team, they only finished with 23 rushing yards against the Dolphins. Huge. Huge. Continuing on, look at the receiving. Look at this. The league average in separation per route run is about 2.95 yards. Look at the lockdown yesterday. Randall Cobb, 1.07 yards. Garrett Wilson, 1.6 yards. Alan Lazard, 1.23. Only Conklin and Gibson were getting open for them. They're number 4 and number 5 options. But for us, on 2.95 league average, look at this. Claypool had 6.26 yards. Cedric Wilson, 3.96. Jalen Waddle, 4.04. Durham Smythe, 4.58. Barrios was about 1.15. Scheming them open. Love it. And then the average separation from a QB is about 4.53 yards for the defensive pass rush. Bryce Huff was about 4.22 yards. Quinnen Williams was 4.28 yards. Solomon Thomas for the Jets was 4.39 yards. And Jalen Johnson was 5.1 for the Dolphins. I mean, look at, we had 3 players below it. Wilkins, 3.67. Chubb at 3.78. And Van Ginkel at 4.3. And then Zach Seiler finished in at 4.6 when it came to separation, average separation from the QB. Man. And let's go deeper. We got to go deeper into the next-gen stats. Look at Jalen Ramsey. He traveled with Garrett Wilson during the first 3 quarters in Week 15, aligning across from him on 21 of 27 routes, 7.78%. Ramsey allowed just 3 receptions for 25 yards on 4 targets across 53 coverage snaps against the Jets this season. Look at this. Absolutely shut him down. He played press coverage 69.6% of the time. Nice. And shut him down. Right? We know how much Fangio loves that zone. We were seeing the cover 6 shells, right? We were seeing them, and he loves that. We were pressing Garrett and making life real hard. One of my keys to victory was take away that security blanket from Zach Wilson with Garrett Wilson, and they sure as hell did that. They sure as hell did that yesterday. They made Zach uncomfortable, and they gave him nowhere to go with the football. And this plays into it. Do the Miami Dolphins have the best defense in the NFL right now? Look at us since Week 8. Take a look at us since Week 8. Look at in rush EPA per play allowed and drop back EPA per play allowed. I mean, that is off the charts right now. Obviously, you want to be higher to, like the higher you go, right? You want to be in the minuses, right? So, I mean, look at, we're off the chart in terms of drop EPA per play allowed. We're number 1 in the NFL since Week 8. And look at, we're like number 3 against the run in rush EPA per play allowed. I mean, this defense is just off the charts right now. The Dolphins defense since Week 8, they're number 1 in EPA per play at minus 0.214. They're number 1 in dropback EPA, as you see right there, minus 0.208. Number 2 in success rate. They're allowing only a 35.4% of success rate. Number 2 in rush success rate. They're only allowing a 28.5% rush success rate. They're number 3 in rush EPA. They're only minus 0.226. Number 4 in dropback success rate. They're only allowing a 38.6. Heading into Monday Night Football, Miami's defense, they're 5th in total defense right now, ranked heading into Monday Night Football tonight. They're ranked number 5 in total defense, number 4 in run defense, number 10 against the pass, number 2 in sacks, tied for 10th on third down, and they're 14th with points allowed. And remember, the Chargers and the Bills game skew some of those numbers massively, especially the points, right? Especially those points. And you look at how this defensive line is coming together right now. I mean, I think it's safe to say that Vic Fangio and the Dolphins defense are one of, if not the best defense in the NFL right now. Sure, they slipped up against the Titans. I get it. I'm not going to forget about that. Sure, that's there. But you look at how good this defense has been. It's been a rock of Gibraltar since, when we were going through those struggles trying to find our offensive identity, when defenses were figuring us out, that defense stepped up. That defense found another level. I'm just saying. I think that's a serious conversation to have right now. At worst, they're a top 3 defense in the NFL right now. At worst. And I'll say it again. I think they're better than this defense is already better than we saw anything under Flores and Boyer, I think. And I also believe the potential is greater too, obviously. We haven't even hit our stride. We haven't even seen Fangio bringing in his guys and tooling his defense even more in his image. He took on the personnel we gave him, albeit a lot of good players on that personnel. So, man, this defense, and they're another reason. This defense is another reason why there's no way I think we go worse than 2-1 on this. Everything the Bills did against the Cowboys, we can replicate, and even better. We don't have the injuries the Bills do. Our front is playing at a higher level than the Bills right now. X is probably going to be back. Holland might be back. Deshaun Elliott might be back. Our secondary is better right now. Even with Jalen Ramsey and, what we saw this weekend. We can replicate and we can make Dak and that offense real uncomfortable. I mean, they couldn't run the ball, right? Pollard and Dowdle and all these guys couldn't get the run game going. What do you think? We're one of the best run defenses in the NFL right now. Look at the pressure Wilkins and Seiler and Chubb and these boys are getting. Zach Martin went down for them yesterday. I'm just saying, a lot of the stuff they did to the Cowboys, not only can we replicate, I think we can do at an even higher level. This defense is going to be one of the reasons why we win the AFC East down this stretch. I truly believe that. Truly believe that. Heading into this article from Barry Jackson, what Dolphins must do to make playoffs, win division, and claim number 1 or number 2 seed. So, with 3 weeks remaining in the regular season, the Dolphins continue to have a wide range of possible outcomes, anywhere from claiming the number 1 seed in the AFC to missing the playoffs altogether, asking and answering 8 questions on the Dolphins' playoff picture. So let's keep it simple. How did the Dolphins hold off the steamrolling Buffalo Bills, which drubbed the Cowboys 31-10 on Sunday, and win the AFC East? Miami would clinch the AFC East with any collection of 2 wins and 2 Bills losses. But Miami shouldn't count on the Buffalo losing, because the Bills will be heavy favorites in their next 2 games on the road against the Chargers team missing Justin Herbert, and at home against the Patriots team suffering through its worst season this century. So the Dolphins can win their division title by either 1, beating both Dallas on Sunday at Hard Rock, and winning again at Baltimore, or by winning one of the next two and hoping the Bills lose to the Chargers or the Patriots, or by beating Buffalo when the teams meet January 6th or 7th in Miami Gardens, regardless of all other outcomes. If the Bills win the division, can Miami still make the playoffs? Absolutely. But the Dolphins would then open up the postseason on the road. Miami can clinch a playoff spot by simply winning any one of its final 3 games. What about getting the number 1 seed? How can Miami do that? Baltimore's win against Jacksonville on Sunday gave that path more clarity. There is no longer a way the Dolphins can get the top seed without defeating the Ravens. Beating Dallas, Baltimore, and Buffalo would give Miami the number 1 seed. If the Dolphins beat Dallas and Baltimore but lose to Buffalo, Miami would be the number 1 seed if Baltimore loses at San Francisco or at home against Pittsburgh, and Kansas City lose one of its final 3 games, home to Las Vegas and Cincinnati, and at the Chargers. If the Dolphins can't get the number 1 seed, can they get at least the number 2 seed, which would mean home games the first 2 weeks of the playoffs, assuming they win the first? Yes, but that would require help. If the Dolphins beat Dallas and Buffalo but lose to the Ravens, thus making Baltimore the likely top seed, the Dolphins would need a Kansas City loss to claim the 2 seed ahead of the Chiefs. And the Chiefs have the easiest remaining schedule of all these teams with the Raiders, Bengals, and Chargers. I don't mean to sound alarmist, but the Dolphins lose all of their remaining games. Will they still make the playoffs? It's likely, but not definite. Here's one scenario that would leave Miami out of the playoffs altogether. The Dolphins lose every game and the Bills beat the Chargers or Patriots. Jacksonville beats Tampa, Carolina, and Tennessee. Indianapolis beats Atlanta, the Raiders, and Houston. Cincy beats the Steelers, the Chiefs, and the Browns. Cleveland wins at Houston and at home against the Jets. There are other nightmares past the Dolphins missing the playoffs, but all are complicated, unlikely. The Dolphins remain in good position because of their 7-3 conference record, which will give them a tiebreaker edge with several teams if they win one more game. They've already clinched a tiebreaker edge over the Bengals, even if Miami loses every game. Is there any chance the Dolphins could end up playing the Bills 2 weeks in a row? That is absolutely possible. If the Bills win the AFC East, there's a good chance Buffalo would be the number 3 seed and play the 6th seed in the playoffs. And that could be Miami if the Browns remain the first wild card team and the Dolphins don't fall behind the 3rd and final wild card qualifier. Keep in mind that the top wild card seed appears on pace to play the AFC South champion, which is Jacksonville, Houston, or Indianapolis, which are all tied. If the Dolphins win the division, but the Bills finish 10-7 or 11-6, there's also a chance that Miami and Buffalo can play in South Florida on 2 consecutive weekends. You're making my head explode. Tell me who I should root for next weekend. Root for a Dolphins win against Dallas because that clinches a playoff spot for Miami. Root for the Chargers against the Bills because that would reduce the Dolphins' AFC East magic number to 1. And root for the Steelers to beat the Bengals. Root for the Texans to beat the Browns to improve Miami's chances of being the 5th seed if the Dolphins lose the division. Root for the Falcons to beat the Colts. Root for Tampa to beat Jacksonville. Root for the Raiders to beat the Chiefs. And root for the 49ers to beat the Ravens. Could the Dolphins' 1 p.m. game at Baltimore on December 31st be moved to 4:25 or flexed into primetime? That scenario is expected to be discussed by the league earlier this week because the Bengals have been winning without Joe Burrow, and because of Patrick Mahomes' popularity, the NFL has been leaning towards keeping Cincinnati, Kansas City at 4:25, but instead of flipping it with the Dolphins and Ravens. But that isn't set in stone. The game on New Year's Eve, Green Bay at Minnesota, appears in at least some peril because the Packers have fallen below 500. It's possible, but not certain, that the league would move the game to the afternoon and replace it with the Dolphins, Raven, or less likely, Saints, Bucks. So there you go. There are all your playoff scenarios. There's your rooting guide early on in the week. It ain't even a question. We know what time it is. All right? We know what time it is. So, I mean, shout out. Shout out to Barry Jackson for doing the hard work, huh? Tua Tagovailoa, when we go into quarterback efficiency, he has the 2nd highest completion percentage of above expected, and he has the 4th highest EPA per play right now, and Brock Purdy is absolutely off the charts. I just had to show this to show how ridiculous that narrative was a few weeks ago, that, you know, anyone can do what Purdy and Tua does. No, I'm sorry, you can't. All right, I can't. You can't. All right. And, I mean, the whole game manager thing, Tom Brady was a game manager. Drew Brees was a game manager. How many Super Bowls did they have between the two of them? I'm just saying. I'm not even trying to hear that. So, Tua Tagovailoa remains one of the most efficient quarterbacks in the NFL, hands down, not even close. And then finally here, I had to show this portion of Joe Chad's article. Dalvin Cook not looking back at signing with the Jets instead of the Dolphins. A few lockers away from Rodgers, Jets running back Dalvin Cook, who nearly signed with the Dolphins during training camp, dressed with little fanfare. The former Florida State back was mostly an afterthought, carrying just once for 4 yards Sunday as the Dolphins posted their first shutout, on another sad sack Jet squad since 2020. He said nothing to pinpoint. We got our asses whipped. Asked if he regretted not signing with Miami, Cook said, I ain't going there with you. I'm not going there. But then Cook added of his season in New York, New Jersey after starting for the Vikings. Toughest year ever in my life. I got the ball last year, but we're going to persevere. We don't run from challenges. Should have signed in Miami, Dalvin. You made the wrong call, baby. 436 of you in the room. Smash that like button. Subscribe for new. I'm going to be back tomorrow night breaking down Tua Tuesday and all the film with Martin. Make sure you tune in before Hard Knocks. Get you amped up for the game, all right? And then the finish line on Wednesday with Richmond, Webb, and Ballgame. And me and Neil for Fin Too Deep on Thursday. Smash that like button. Fins up. Appreciate y'all.